Hi teachers, welcome to TSH, Teacher Survival Hacks. Go ahead and click on the like and subscribe button if you like what I am saying to you today. Today is the fourth video in my video series, not including my introduction to you. That's not included. That's just an introduction from me to you. So today is my fourth video in the series called Teacher Survival Hacks. It's really geared toward the beginning teacher with an emphasis on science instruction. However, those of you that are not science teachers and those of you that are veterans or more than you are invited to watch this video series because maybe I have something for you that you haven't thought about. I know in the past that I've learned from various teachers, and sometimes I actually learn from beginning teachers some things that I've stolen from them. Okay, so please, everyone is welcome. Okay, so today's video series, I'm going to focus on something that I deem as extremely important, and that is the aspect of leadership. Some of you are born leaders. You have the leadership gene in you, and if you are one of those lucky people, you're going to flourish as a beginning teacher. I'm never going to say you won't have any problems, but I'm going to say that you are well ahead of the game, because leadership, the aspect of leadership, can be very challenging, very heart-wrenching, and very complicated. Okay? All right. Leadership takes courage. You have to have the courage and the conviction to say no to some very powerful personalities in your classroom and some very powerful personalities known as parents and administrators outside your classroom. You're going to have to see beyond the present. These people see beyond the present for the better benefit of their students, even when it's unpopular. Being a true leader is the loneliest position on earth. To give you an example of leadership, I urge you to view the movie called Saving Private Ryan. I'm not talking about the blood and gore in that movie. I'm talking about the fact that the captain in the movie, played by Tom Hanks, was a true leader. Whoever wrote his part understood what leadership was all about, because you will see him when he was marching with his men. You can see him always apart from his men. He was not allow himself to be entangled in their playful banter and not trying to be friends with the men under his leadership. He was always thinking beyond for the benefit of his men. He was a lonely figure, and that's part of the byproduct of being a true leader. You're going to be a lonely figure because you are truly out there thinking what's in the best interest of the people under you. And as a classroom teacher, you're going to have to do the same thing. So you're going to have courage. You're going to have to be self-assured enough to say no. A lot of your decisions, no one's going to be happy. You're going to have to be consistent with your decisions. Your expectations are going to have to be real. Okay? A lot of young teachers struggle with this, and let me tell you something. I think it's the number one reason why teachers fail in the classroom, because they have no idea how to be leaders. And to be a leader in the classroom is an extremely complex aspect to gain and to learn. The reason why is because you're going to be asked to make hundreds, literally thousands of decisions per day. The average teacher makes a little slightly more than 1,500 decisions per day. Conversely, the average principal makes slightly over 300 decisions per day. So, and you're going to have to make those decisions in split seconds. You're not going to have time to sit around and think about, oh, is this right? Okay? You're going to have to innately make those decisions for the best what's best for your students. One of the most common human traits and desires is the desire to be loved and admired. And this is the thing that a lot of teachers, including veteran teachers, a lot of teachers really struggle with. They want to be liked and desired. Okay? As a true leader, that should not be your goal. Okay? Your goal is what's best for your students. I'm not saying be mean. I'm saying what you should be aiming at is being firm and fair with your students. Kids naturally test boundaries. Your job is to be the boundary. Okay? They're going to test you. They're going to try to manipulate you. You have to be that unrelenting, firm, fair boundary in their life to say, no, I want you here. This is not negotiable. You're going to be dealing with some very powerful personalities in your classroom. Some extremely powerful personalities outside the classroom. And you're going to have the courage and conviction to say no. And a lot of young teachers are very, they get discouraged because they really feel that they have to make these hard decisions and nobody likes them like they do outside the classroom. It doesn't work that way, people. You're going to have to make a decision in your life before you enter anybody's classroom that I am here for the needs of my students, what's best for my students. Some of these teachers out there, including the veterans, they're going to be out there trying to buy their students respect. What do I mean by that? Well, one of the simplest ways of buying respect is giving kids candy for being good. Don't do that. Don't buy candy for your students because, today I'm going to give y'all candy if y'all are good, and don't do that. Because you're going to have some students in your classroom. Number one, you can't buy respect that way. Okay? And you cannot buy love that way. What people truly don't understand, and I'll come back to this point in just a second. What people truly don't understand is to be loved and admired, you have to earn their respect and gain their respect. Respect generally comes before love. I mean true love. I'm not talking about infatuation where you think you fell in love with your spouse or your significant other. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about to be truly loved and admired. You have to gain their respect first. Okay? Many teachers want to buy their kids, want to pay for their kids' positive behavior. But a lot of children cannot they can't work. It doesn't work that way, because when you give kids candy and say, okay, y'all get, if y'all get, I'm gonna give y'all some candy. I'm gonna give y'all some candy now. You can't do that, because there are a lot of kids out there that have some serious social behavior shortcomings as far as uh, being um, having the proper behavior in the classroom. I'm talking about kids that have schizophrenia, kids that have Tourette's, kids that have Asperger's syndrome, kids that are ADHD. I'm talking about those kids that are hardwired to not acting with the correct social norms that we think as appropriate for different situations. They can't do that. And don't forget, a lot, and especially in middle school, a lot of these kids, their brains are still developing. They act out on impulse. A lot of these kids with true ADHD, they'll do something in class, and then 5 minutes later, they don't even remember what they did. And they truly don't remember what they did. Okay? Because their brain is on channel 6. No, it's on channel 3. No, it's on, and while you're all on channel 10, their mind is somewhere else. Okay? They truly don't remember what they did 5 minutes ago. Okay? When they tell you, I don't remember. I don't know what I did. What did I do? What did I do? A lot of these kids truly don't remember what they did. Okay? So, no. Paying off kids, buying candy, a lot of these kids can't do that. And so when they see the other kids getting candy for being good, they're going to start resenting you, because they will never live up to your expectations of the candy. Okay? What they need from you is guidance and wisdom and consistency, and allowing them to meet your expectations. That's what they need. They don't need candy. Okay? And so this is all part of leadership. And this leadership quality, I believe, is the number one factor in why young teachers get discouraged and they want to leave the classroom. If you are a great leader, you're not going to have many problems with discipline. As a teacher, as I said before, you're going to have to learn how to have a relationship with your colleagues, your students, and your parents. And those are all complex interactions that you're going to have to learn. And a lot of it stems from leadership. If you're not a true leader, if you're not born with that leadership gene, you're going to have to quickly learn that aspect in life to be a successful teacher. We're in preparation time. As I said before, you have instructional time, you have student time, you have personal time, and right now you're in preparation time. During this time of preparation, while you still have time before the kids get to your classroom, please do some self-reflection on the qualities of leadership. Please do some self-reflection on whether or not you can truly handle the mantle of leadership that's going to be thrusted on you, because you are going to have to deal with so many decisions throughout the day. They don't all have to be correct, but they're going to be asking you to make. Your job is going to be allowing you to make thousands of decisions per day. Don't be afraid to make the wrong decision. Just do the best you can. Okay? Don't allow kids to manipulate you, because when kids are born, they are born manipulators. Kids are not stupid. They know how to manipulate you. They know how to get under your skin. A lot of kids know how to press your buttons to tick you off. A lot of kids know how to press your buttons to play into your heartstrings. A lot of these kids are cute and cuddly that you want to take home and be their friend. Never, ever try to be a child's friend. You are the adult in the classroom. You are not their friends. A lot of parents make the mistake of being their child's friend. The most frustrating aspect between a parent and teacher relationship is when that parent undermines the relationship between their children and themselves by trying to be their child's friend. And then they expect you to be their child's friend, and at the same time handling the discipline in your classroom with, in some cases, over 30 kids. And some of these kids are going to have some real behavior issues that you have to deal with outside of their kid. Okay? So you need to question whether you're able to handle this. Again, I'm not trying to scare you, but this is what you're going to be involved with in the fall. Okay? So, it is time for me to get off this subject of leadership, and I am going to show you some new strategies and maybe one or two activities to help you, or to build your repertoire of strategies to help you in the fall.
Back. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my demonstration lab. And today's subject is buoyancy and density. So let's get right into it. I'm going to go over density first. Density is the amount of mass an object has relative to its volume. So the formula for density is the mass of an object per unit volume. So to try to simplify things, I have two containers, two equal containers, two containers of equal size and equal volume. One's filled with water and one's filled with air. Well, the one on the left that's filled with water, it is more dense than the container filled with air. And the reason why is this container with the water has more mass. This container with the air has less mass relative to the equal sizes or the equal volume of its container. So that's basically a basic explanation of density. Younger students are really going to struggle with this. You simply have to probably put it in more simpler terms that an object that's more dense is simply has more mass. Okay, so then a object of comparable size. All right, so let's go over buoyancy. So buoyancy is really the force that's exerted on an object, the upward force that's exerted by a fluid on an object. For instance, you're in a swimming pool, you have a beach ball, you push down on the beach ball, you notice there's an upward force exerting on the beach ball. that upward force is buoyancy, or what's called a buoyant force. A long time ago, a Greek mathematician by the name of Archimedes, he discovered the principle of buoyancy. And basically his principle is in relation to I'm not going to say it word for word, but I'm just going to put it in terms that I understand best. In relation to a floating object, the volume of a liquid displaced by that object is equal to the weight of the object submerged. What do I mean by that? Okay. For instance, you can place an object in water and you can fill a container with water, and you can place the object in water. And what happens when you place an object in a container that's filled with water? What happens to the water? Well, it's going to be pushed out of the way, what we call displacement. If you're in a bathtub that's filled with water, the water is going to overflow over the edges of the bathtub because you are displacing or pushing away the water. If you measure the volume of water that is displaced by an object, and that volume equals to the weight of the object that was placed in the container, then that object will float. So if I place this object in water and I gather the amount of liquid and measured it, the volume of water should equal the amount, at least equal the amount of weight that was placed by the object placed in the container, if that makes any sense. To give you an analogy, this is why large ships float on the ocean, because large ships, they displace a huge amount of water. And why don't they sink? Well, you got to understand that large ships are filled with air. They have cabins and compartments of air, and they're not as heavy in relation to the whole ocean out there. They're not as heavy as the ocean. They displace more water in the ocean than they actually weigh. So the more water you displace, the more liable you are to float in a liquid. Okay? So that's basically the principle of buoyancy. So, in relation to density. So, to emphasize this point, a friend of mine showed me this demonstration years ago. And many of you know this demonstration, you've seen it before. And it has to do with displacement and density. So you have this pan of beans, and you're shaking the beans. And each time you shake the beans, you are actually displacing the position of the beam, okay, in relation to what's in the beam. So you can have several students come up and give them a turn to shape the beam. And this can go on for several minutes. And so the students are sitting there wondering, what's going to happen? Well, okay, so this ping pong ball was displaced by the beams, okay? And so this is really a focus for the principle. It's a focus activity for the principle of buoyancy and or density. You can use it for both, okay? And it's a good activity because you can involve several students, and there is a wow factor when they see that ball appear, because they're going to be asking you, what are we doing this for? You know, what's going to happen? And you can ask them, what do you think is going to happen? Well, we're just shaking a bowl of beans. And I don't even like beans, Mr. Ross. And so, you have to ask them to be patient. And this bowl is pretty heavy. And I would not use a box. I would use something with sloping sides, such as a bowl, because it's not going to work well in a box with just straight sides. It needs to have a sloping surface on each side, on all sides, so the beans can actually have room to displace the ping pong ball. Okay, so there is a focus for your lesson. To start your lesson on buoyancy and or density. Okay, so let's go into some supplies that you probably need for your classroom. Okay, so by now you're getting ready to set up your classroom. You're getting ready to purchase items for your classroom for your kiddos. The summer is just about over, and you're thinking about your focus is now on more so on your classroom and classroom materials and supplies. By now, you should have emailed your department head or your team leader and asked them about consumables by now and things that you need to get ready for the fall. So one of the things that I suggest you have, and what I call classroom standards, is a drop box. Okay, and this is what I use for my drop box. Now they're stackable. Okay, and so you need a place for your students to place all their papers per period. So when they finish working, they know to go to the Dropbox. They have free reign to go to the Dropbox. Or as the dismissal bell is getting ready to sound, they go to the Dropbox and place their papers in the Dropbox. So this can be first period, and you have another stackable one for second period, third period, and so on. Okay? So you can find these at department stores. And they will become very valuable to you regarding that. Okay. The next thing I need to point out is before your kids enter the classroom, you need to establish a seating chart. And so what I did is I simply printed out a grid in Microsoft Word, and here's your grid. This is a small one, okay? Obviously, you're going to print it out probably enough for 30 seats or 30 desks. And so what you do is you print out a grid and you label it per period, first period, second period, whatever, okay? And you label front of classroom, rear of classroom, and I would do this on cardstock and not regular copier paper. I would print this on cardstock because it's more sturdy, and you're going to need that sturdiness when you're dealing with students. And so when the students first enter your classroom, when you're collecting their schedules for the first day and such, you need to be able to learn their names quickly in relative position to where they're sitting in the classroom. So this is the first thing this is the thing I'm focused on more than anything else, believe it or not, in the classroom when they first get there to school, their first day of school. I'm more focused on their seating chart. And so I would also draw this grid on the board and show them on the board, okay, you're here, whoever you are, and then I would point to the next person in the next row, you're here and you're here. So I want you to write your first name and your last name in pencil. I'm gonna hand out a pencil along with this, and you're gonna print your name. Print your name relative to where you're sitting in this classroom, because tomorrow I want you in the same seat so I can take roll. So this is actually your first task as a teacher, is to create your temporary seating chart. Okay, I can't talk today for some reason. Some days you can speak clearly, and some days you muddle things. And I guess today is my muddle day, and I apologize for that. Okay, and so that's what I would do. And I would ask them, don't give me a nickname like Nick or something. Give me Nicholas Smith, or okay, whatever name that is, applying to each student. So after you have created your temporary your temporary seating chart, um, you can, along the way, you can create a more permanent seating chart. Okay, this is the one that I have developed for my class. I haven't found that any teacher other than myself, I'm going to brag on myself a little bit, has done this before. Now I can't show you a close up because I'm not allowed, because these contain actual student pictures of my classes. Okay, but I do have the period. I have the front label. I have the door, the front door, the front of the class, and the period. And I got all these pictures, and I mounted them on magnets. Okay, and so where do I get the magnets from? Well, you go to the store, the box store, and you get a roll of magnets, a ribbon of magnets, and you cut them to size. And a lot of gradebook programs, they actually have the pictures of the kids embedded in their information page in the gradebook program. And so what you do is you cut and paste their pictures onto the magnets. Why is this useful? Because it's especially useful for a substitute. okay? Because they can look at the picture of the student and they can say, oh, no, you don't belong here. Your picture is right here. You belong over here, okay? And so, uh, what is this pan right here? This is actually a baking pan, okay, that I painted. Now, these baking pans can be a little expensive, okay, but make sure it's magnetic, it's metal and magnetic. And when you're at the box store, I would take a magnet with me to the box store and make sure that this pan is not aluminum, but an actual metal pan where it is magnetic. So take a magnet with you when you go buy these pans. And what I did is I spray painted it whatever color that I want. I like the color blue, so I painted it blue. I drew my grid of desk onto the cake pan. So I drew this a grid onto the baking pan. I keep calling it a cake pan. I don't know why, but I drew that, and the rest is history. So here's the useful part of this seating chart. Number one, it's permanent. Number two, it's extremely versatile. So if this kid is giving you problems, you can relocate this kid and put him over here. Okay, it's like playing chess. Okay, you're acting out right here. Okay, so you're gonna go to the back of the room, and I'm gonna replace her with you. And you can do this anytime you want. You want to displace a kid? You say, okay, nope, you're acting out this week. I'm gonna replace you with her. Y'all are too social and so forth. You get the picture. Excuse my pun. You get the picture. Okay? So you use this. Okay? Go to the store, get some baking pans, paint them. Go ahead and mark these up to the arrangement of your classroom and label it per period. Label the front of the room. Label where the front door is. This is extremely useful for you and your substitutes. Furthermore, what I've done, again, I'm not going to show you a close-up, but I have marked where my SPED students are. I've taken a marker and I put red strips. I marked a red strip along the picture for my SPED kids. My 504 kids, they have a green mark. You can probably see this green mark. I don't think you can see the red mark. So I know instantly where my SPED kids are, where my 504 kids are. I know instantly where they are. Okay? This is good for your special education facilitator. They know exactly where your SPED kids are. If you have a substitute, if your special education facilitator is out, and you have a substitute for that person, they know where the SPED kids are. Okay? All right. So that is your permanent seating chart. Extremely versatile. It's magnetic and it's labeled with the students' names and pictures. Very useful for me during the year. I was very excited to do this. It takes some time, but it's going to help you. It's going to pay dividends throughout the whole year. And I have one for each class period. Okay? All right. So I would do that. my next thing, that my next item that you should have for your class is activity baskets. Okay, dollar store. Okay, and each one of these costs $1. And why do you need activity baskets? Because during the year you're going to be cutting and pasting things, especially in science, because you want to enhance the students' creativity. Okay, and what do you place in the baskets? Well, you have glue stick, you have a marker container box. This is an old one. You'll find them at the dollar store. They're clear plastic, and you place the markers in there, and you might have a ruler that you want to place. Not only markers, you can place in the place of markers, you can also use colored pencils, because you're going to ask them to color things. And then, of course, scissors, and then you have tape if you want. Okay, so these are what are called activity baskets, and you will definitely need these and use these throughout the year. So these are the things that you are emailing your department head and team leaders about. This will save you some money if it's already been purchased by the science department. Okay, you're going to need these. There's no way around it. You're going to want to enhance the creativity of your students with paper projects, what I call foldables. More about that later. But right now, we are just gathering our material. Okay? Next thing you should probably have is a stamper. Bought it at one of the box stores. Okay? I labeled the front so I don't get it mixed up. So why do you need a stamper? Because rather than writing and cramping your fingers with all these papers, there are certain messages that you want the students to get from you. And in this one, incomplete work. Use time wisely. Use your time wisely. Okay? So you can design your message with these stampers, and I'm not going to tell you which box store to go to. You can use your imagination, but I'll always label the front so I don't stamp their papers with a message that's upside down. They're a little expensive, but let me tell you something. They're well worth it, and they will save you time. Okay? So whatever message that you want to develop on your stamper, you can. And you can have multiple stampers. Great work. Awesome. Incomplete work. Use your time wisely. Things of that nature. So use multiple stampers. I only have one, but you can use multiple ones, and they're going to cost a pretty penny. But ask your department head and or your team leader to order some for you. You don't have to pay the cost yourself. Okay? The next thing you need is a pointer. Okay? Now, back in the old days, we used to get these off car antennas. Okay? And nowadays, you can order them through Amazon or some other, or you might find them at the big box store, but you need a pointer. Okay? These will come in really handy. Now, if you go to the dollar store, I do know they have these at certain dollar stores. They have the pointer with the finger, and I've been looking for mine for the past 2 days and I can't find it. I use that pointer with my document camera. Let me tell you something about a document camera. If your school does not supply a document camera for each classroom, that is something I would invest in. And so I know what you're thinking. Well, you're asking me to invest in something that's $200-300. Uh-huh. Now let me tell you, if you have a projector in your room on the ceiling projector, and you don't have a document camera to go with it, purchase a document camera because it's going to pay off dividends. That document camera has revolutionized how I teach in my classroom. It will display your worksheets, anything that you have to do as far as an activity is concerned is all displayed up there on the screen. When the kids come in when they get ready to turn in their homework, I have one thing on a sticky um, placed on that document camera. Turn this in. And I have the picture of the homework assignment, okay, on the document camera. And then on a sticky, I have turn this in or place in Dropbox. So when they come in, they see the homework assignment displayed on the screen. And when they see that sticky with the homework assignment displayed on the screen, you don't have to say anything. They go straight to the Dropbox and place their homework in the Dropbox. Not a problem. Okay? All right, I must go on because I'm using up a lot of time on this video, and I don't mean to, but I have a lot to say. All right, next thing you need to do at the dollar store is buy an Easy Grader. Okay, you can find these at some dollar stores. Okay, you are absolutely 100% gonna need an Easy Grader. I would buy more than one because they kind of get lost in the shuffle from time to time. So buy more than one, and you won't go wrong. A lot of times I like to show off, and so I'm an older person, and so I have created my own Easy Grader, and as you can see, it has the big numbers. It has served me well in the past, and here's my own personal Easy Grader that I use in the classroom. So when I'm grading papers, I can see the Easy Grader from a good distance from my desk. So I'm watching the kids, and I'm also grading their papers at the same time. I'm monitoring my kids, and I can look over and see how many they got wrong on that paper, and I can figure out their grade. So I'm pretty good with my hands. Again, it's time for me to show off, and today I'm showing off my handmade Easy Grader. But this is something that's indispensable. You're going to need it for your classes. Okay, teachers, we have reached the point where I am going to have to leave you now. I hope you learned something and I didn't confuse you with the activities today. You can, my intention is to give you ideas for activities for your classes, and you can look these up and see how they apply to you and your concepts that you're going to teach this year. So, again, I thank you for joining me. Go ahead and click the like and subscribe button if you like what I am saying to you today. And this is Michael. I'm getting ready to sign off. I'm thanking you for your time. This time, until next time, we'll be seeing you.